All right, welcome back to the program. Let's quickly bring you our Cbn Weekly segment. Earlier, I told you that we will be bringing you what the Apex Bank has been doing with various interventions in various sectors. You will recall that I've told you on the show a couple of times that the Apex Bank has come up with special intervention strategies that would be from 2019 to 2024 in 10 commodities. Cocoa, not just only rice, cocoa, tomatoes, fish, dairy, livestock, cotton, cassava, oil palm, maize. Which other commodity am I living right now? Have I called cassava? You know, about 10 commodities, as well as tomatoes. Yes, 10 commodities the Apex Bank is interested in talking about the stimulation of the Nigerian economy, not just about rice that we've seen for some years right now. So we'll be taking you through the package, and I think at the end of the package it will be time for me to say bye-bye for today. But before that, check out what we have for you on the Cbn Weekly segment.
To the nation for several reasons. First, there has been a lot of, lull in production because of the lockdown as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic. So that's number one. Secondly, there have been predictions that the global economy will go into recession. And there have been predictions that the Nigerian economy cannot escape recession. At the Central Bank of Nigeria, we realize that recession is actually knocking on the doors of Nigeria. But it is not, it can still be averted, given or at least reduced. Since recession is defined as two consecutive quarters of negative growth, what it means is that if we are able to stave off a negative growth in one of the quarters, it means we have escaped recession. And the target of the governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, and which informs the aggressive nature with which in which he's trying to ramp up support for agriculture and small-scale businesses, is that we need to aggressively push the economy to avert that recession. And so that's informed the process. He changed the process of application and obtaining the COVID-19 loan. That's the targeted credit facility, by directing the Development Finance Department and the NISA Microfinance Bank to fast-track the approval process so that people can get these loans back cash and then begin to restore their production lines and begin to restore their business lives and livelihoods. These are part of helping to ensure that the negative tendencies by COVID-19 are smoothing out. The second thing is the targets that have been set and the amount of money that is going into the 2020 wet season, agricultural wet season, under the Anchor Borrowers Program. The targets, in fact, for rice, it is 2 million tons, and so on and so forth. The idea is that, like he said, if an animal runs in a crazy manner, like recession, the only way you can gun it down is to also shoot it in a crazy manner. Aggressive development finance policy is what is required, and that is the aim of this wet season program, to ensure that our economy does not slip into recession. Normally, of course, there is insurance under Anchor Borrowers Program, but occasionally, forces of nature come into it, and farmers suffer losses. But what we are doing is that the whole aim is to ensure that the farmer returns to production almost to the level he was before the incident occurred. So it's a way of ensuring that, flood or no flood, that the welfare and the businesses of the farmers do not suffer permanent damage.
For the 2020 wet season, this is the largest anchor borrower program we'll be doing since 2015. We're looking at having over 1.1 million farmers. They're going to be farming on over 1 million hectares of land. And we're looking at a combined output of 9 different commodities of 8.32 million metric tons. Quite significant if you look at what is happening globally, where traditional large producing countries like Vietnam, Thailand for rice are closing their silos and closing their borders. So we expect to produce every single thing we need to eat, basic things like rice, cassava, cotton, maize, locally. The good thing about the program that was launched by the president is, like, unlike other agricultural programs that have been done in the past, there's a value chain approach. So if you take cotton, for instance, we're not only financing the farmers to produce the cotton. The ginneries, I said about 17 ginneries would convert the cotton to lint. And then we're also providing funding to the textile, who will now spin that lint and turn it to garment for the uniform services and others to buy. So there's a value chain perspective, and that's why the anchor borrower program has largely been successful. One very important thing we're also doing this year, there's a focus on yield to ensure that we incentivize the farmers to come back to the farm. I take cotton, for instance. Traditional yields used to be about 0.3, 0.4 metric tons per hectare. But with improved seeds that we provided in 2019, and we will be providing in 2020, we've moved that to about 2 metric tons per hectare. So that's an incentive for the farmers. Most of the farmers who farmed cotton last year did very well, have enough money to pay down their loans and also embark on other activities. It's not an intervention, it's a loan. We're advancing a total of over 400 billion, 432 billion through the banks, yes, for the 2020 wet season across 9 different commodities. And also the targets that has been set by Governor Emefiele for the 20 wet season are quite things that are tasking, but we're working day and night to ensure that through the banks and the various associations that we work with, we ensure that we deliver on that target.
There is a total lockdown across the globe where this food is being produced before, being imported into the country. All those places are closed today. And our neighboring countries around us here are looking on to us to feed them. So you can see that the 2020 wet season is really going to be very, very critical. It's either we get it right or we find a solution. So that is why we are here, to see that we really get it right, so that Nigeria and Nigerians will continue to feed on what we produce locally here. Because there's no country today that is ready to rescue us in case if we have any shortage of food. Because today, after all these processes of border closure, lockdown, banditry, Boko Haram, and what have you, still Nigerians are eating from what we produce in Nigeria. And it's all about the achievement, the plans and programs of Anchor Borrower Program. So I think the program needs to be celebrated, starting from land preparation, in fact, to giving market that has been taken to the door of his farm. Today, that smallholder farmer under the Anchor Borrower Program doesn't need to go to the local market to buy inputs that he cultivates his farm. He gets enough fertilizer, at least 4 bucks per single farmer. He's getting herbicide, he's getting organic fertilizer, he's getting mechanization from land preparation, plow, harrow, in fact harvesting, threshing, empty bags, transportation, aggregation, that smallholder farmer today under the Ankobora program, he doesn't need to use one kobo from his pocket to achieve all those practices.
Cotton products. So I'd like to highlight that in the first instance. Of course, the intervention itself has also addressed importation of cotton into the country. I did my best to say that right now there are ginneries that were probably capacity utilization was about probably 20%. As I speak to you today, it's about 79%. And you could go around and confirm that typically the ginning season would have ended in February. But as I speak to you today, there are ginners that are still processing seed cotton that was produced by Nakotan farmers. So that is a plus. So when you look at what happened in 2019, for instance, when we first participated in the program with about 130 farmers, we produced roughly about 120,000 metric tons. This year, 2020, we are talking about 260 plus thousand farmers, and our aim is to produce about 500,000 metric tons of raw cotton. So our inputs, by the grace of God, I beat my chest to say, was we got them from credible input suppliers. In some cases, even manufacturers within the country. So we try to patronize those that we know have the capacity. Even in this 2020, the same step was taken. So from roughly average of like say 400 to 500 kg per hectare that was produced under normal circumstances with the farmers without intervention, we are doing a minimum of 1 ton and upwards of 1.5 metric tons as we speak, as best as we can. And what we are trying to do is to ensure that our farmers recognize for a fact that this is not a grant, this is not free lunch, it is a loan. But it's a loan that is also meant to empower the farmers. Last year, I don't believe that any farmer got the kind of price that Nakotan farmers got, of 205,000 naira per ton. Our farmers went home happy. Those that were able to bring 2 tons actually went home with 223,000 naira in their pockets. Now, when you think about 100,000 farmers, for instance, and you're talking about at least minimum of 4 dependents, you know what we're talking about. So that impact alone. And with the value chain approach, we are looking at CTG coming back and contributing significantly to the employment generation of this country. I always also like to add not only employment generation, but wealth creation, because that's what you're doing.
Overall statistics, the best population in Nigeria in 2015, it was only 8 million tons was produced. But when overall statistics, from 2015 to 2018, we produced over 20 million tons of this in Nigeria. Then for the 2021 season, from our estimates, we have now enhanced and advanced all the process of doing this program for this year because of these major challenges. And we have now add more farmers irrespective of what we have done last year. Last year, we have not more than 72,000 farmers. But we thank God that this year we have over 120,000 pounds, which will be supported by the Cbn to produce. And we have seen it because for the past years, all the inputs that we're distributing are coming a little bit late. But for this year, I can say more than 60% of all the states participating has gotten their inputs, and they have started distributing their inputs, which our planting calendar will start from 15th June up to the end of July, which means that all the farmers will get their input at the right time there is no any complaint of getting the inputs late.
I want to state categorically that the Anchor Borrower Program is the most robust technical program that drives agriculture in Nigeria. Most of us have been hearing about the value chain, the value chain, the value chain. The Anchor Borrower Program is the clear picture and definition of the practical implementation of agricultural value chain in Nigeria. That this program, the process is sustainable, and today they can do it in wet season, they can do it in the dry season, once they're able to get credit, farm, earn the right value, make money, pay back their loan, that the farm, that the land given to them can increase from 1 hectare to 2 hectares to 5 hectares going forward, and their livelihood can improve. So in a nutshell, because of time given, I want to state emphatically that the Anchor Borrower Program is a program that every Nigerian must support. The media must support, the farmers must support, the service providers must support, every stakeholder must support, so as to be able to sustain the agricultural environment and ensure food security, reduce poverty, create employment for our young men and women, empower our old people who have been supported, raise more young champions in agriculture who can sustain agriculture in Nigeria and make life more meaningful for our people. I'm emphatic with you. It's only in this program that we have young men and women embracing agriculture, because we are making it look attractive. A young graduate can be rest assured that if he can be able to access 1 hectare or 2 hectares in the comfort of his house, he will have access to loan without collateral, have access to input without collateral. When well guided in 3-4 months, we grow a commodity like maize, for example. You'll be able to make, with the kind of seed you're giving, improved seed, you make 5 tons, 6 tons per hectare, and you need only 2 tons to pay for your loan, and you're making 3 tons, and that 3 tons is giving you over 300,000 within 3 months. Who is going to pay you that? So it is a beautiful program that has energized the young men and women. We're taking it to the youth. We're saying, young men, go and look for land. Secure the land. We give you, through the program, give you finance, give you input, give you technology, give you mechanization. All you need to do is engage people, supervise them, work with them. End of the day, in 3 months, 4 months, you're earning good money without begging anybody in any office, looking for white-collar job, going around with your bags, trying to look for how to survive. Survival is on your feet, it's in your hands. I'm emphatic with you. It's only in this program that we have young men and women embracing agriculture, because we are making it look attractive. A young graduate can be rest assured that if he can be able to access 1 hectare or 2 hectares in the comfort of his house, he will have access to loan without collateral, have access to input without collateral. When well guided in 3-4 months, we grow a commodity like maize, for example. You'll be able to make, with the kind of seed you're giving, improved seed, you make 5 tons, 6 tons per hectare, and you need only 2 tons to pay for your loan, and you're making 3 tons, and that 3 tons is giving you over 300,000 within 3 months. Who is going to pay you that? So it is a beautiful program that has energized the young men and women. We're taking it to the youth. We're saying, young men, go and look for land. Secure the land. We give you, through the program, give you finance, give you input, give you technology, give you mechanization. All you need to do is engage people, supervise them, work with them. End of the day, in 3 months, 4 months, you're earning good money without begging anybody in any office, looking for white-collar job, going around with your bags, trying to look for how to survive. Survival is on your feet, it's in your hands.
Borrowing a leaf from the huge successes recorded in the rice, cotton, cassava and tomato value chains under the Anchor Borrowers Program, ABP, the CBN met with some milk importers, during which the governor wooed them to take advantage of CBN's low-interest loans to begin local milk production instead of relying endlessly on milk imports. The bank's partnership with states and private investors is beginning to yield fruits. For instance, in Niger State, the government of the day has allocated land to 4 dairy companies at the 31,000-hectare Bobi Grazing Reserve, situated in Mariga local government area. Bobi Reserve is inhabited by over 700 pastoralist families who own about 300,000 heads of cattle. Of the over 30,000 hectares of land, 10,000 hectares was allocated to Friesland Campina Wamco, while 4,000 hectares each was allocated to Chi Limited, Neon Agro, and Irish Dairy. Work by the companies is at various degrees of completion. Similarly, Arla Group in Kaduna State, Promasidor in Ekiti State, and Integrated Dairies Limited in Plateau are in partnership with the respective state governments to upgrade or develop the Damau Grazing Reserve Kaduna, the Ikun Dairy Farm Ekiti, and the Wase Grazing Reserve Jos. These revolutionary moves to intervene in the livestock dairy value chain will not only improve cattle management in the country, but will also close the supply gap of 1.2 million metric tons of milk. Specifically, it is expected that milk production will increase from 500,000 metric tons to 550,000 metric tons by January 2021.
We are saying that how much we spend importing milk is too high. We need to reduce it. We are saying that by doing backward integration, it helps to limit or reduce the rate of herders and farmers conflict in Nigeria. And we are determined to make milk production in Nigeria a viable economic proposition.
The discovery of crude oil in Nigeria led to the neglect of the farms, leading to a major decline in the production of cocoa from an average of 420,000 tons in the 1960s to about 100,000 in 1999. To help mitigate the challenges in the industry, the CBN has extended a total facility of 17.32 billion naira to projects in the value chain through its various interventions. The focus of the bank's intervention in 2019 was to primarily engage key stakeholders and develop a roadmap for the resuscitation of the industry. The roadmap for stimulating finance to the cocoa industry and ensuring a structural transformation of the value chain is underway, and the bank's strategy for 2020 is to collaborate with the farmers and promote the use of technology to enhance the farmers' productivity. The value chains of other commodities such as maize, poultry, fish, and aquaculture also witnessed some degree of intervention by the CBN. As part of its strategy for the poultry sector, the bank in July 2019 played host to select universities in the country to partner with them in a pilot scheme tagged University-Based Poultry Revival Program, aimed at boosting poultry production in the country through the involvement of universities. Bemoaning the estimated 1.2 million metric tons of poultry meat being smuggled into the country from neighboring countries by unpatriotic persons, the governor said the project, beyond closing the existing demand and supply gap, will raise a new crop of agropreneurs in modern poultry production. While the bank is in partnership arrangement with 12 universities across the 6 geopolitical zones of the country, 5 have been selected for the pilot phase of the project.
Those universities have already started the pilot phase. University of Ilorin, University of Science and Technology in Port Harcourt, University of Nigeria, Nsukka, ABU in Zaria, and of course the University of Agriculture in Abeokuta. So we'll be working with them to see how we can develop this value chain. The plan and the vision of the governor is to eliminate the importation of all poultry products by the end of 2023.
Although Nigeria remains the largest producer of maize in sub-Saharan Africa, churning out about 11 million metric tons per annum, the country still has a deficit of about 4.5 million metric tons, which are addressed through importation. Determined to address the demand gap through an increase in maize production, the CBN leveraged its existing relationship with the Maize Association of Nigeria, MAAN, by extending financing to smallholder farmers, in addition to engaging large-scale maize processors with outgrowers scheme, such as flour mills, Olam, Wakot, and other feed mills across the country. To fast-track self-sufficiency, the bank introduced the Maize Aggregation Scheme, MAS. This move is to enable silo concessionaires and feed millers to purchase and preserve locally produced maize from farmers. With the 8.72 billion naira approved for the finance of 53,644 farmers under the affiliation of the Maize Association of Nigeria, MAAN, in 2019, it is expected that the cultivated 62,910 hectares across 30 states of the country will yield 188,730 metric tons. The CBN also sought the collaboration of 12 river basin development authorities on the use of irrigable land in their respective areas of operation during the dry farming season. To build on the foundation laid in 2019, the bank in 2020 plans to support about 150,000 farmers to cultivate over 400,000 hectares of land with an expected yield of 4 tons per hectare in order to meet the projected production of 1.6 million metric tons by the end of 2020.
Maize is a crop that can be produced 3 times a year, and working with the river basin authorities would try and unlock that, fulfill the vision of the governor, which is to breach that 4.5 million, and indeed, produce in excess so that we can start looking at the export market. So we're working with the river basin authorities, and in 2020 we'll try as much as possible to unlock that potential. We're looking at bringing at least 200,000 additional farmers into the maize value chain.
Before now, Nigeria, in spite of its abundant water resources, had a deficit of 1.9 million metric tons of fish. This deficit resulted in a humongous import bill of $1.2 billion. To address this, the CBN had to extend a facility to the fish value chain amounting to 21 billion naira. These funds were disbursed to 40 companies and 2,950 farmers. Thanks to the interventions, the sector now has an annual increment of 200 metric tons, mainly from aquaculture. It is expected that the objectives of boosting fish production by 600,000 metric tons in 3 years, improving local production of fish, and reducing import bills will be met.
Another aspect of our 5-year plan when it comes to promoting local production of goods for export is based on our slogan, PAVE, P-A-V-E, which means produce, add value, and export. And in this process, we want to also provide access to finance for Nigerians who are local producers of exportables. And so the aim is to enable them produce the best kind of products, and so to package them, so we also need to finance the packaging. When they package them, they export and then return foreign exchange.
Welcome back. That was the package that we're there to you, our Cbn Weekly segment. Today, I hope you've been enlightened as well as more informed about the intervention from the Central Bank of Nigeria. Before we move to the news studio, let's quickly take some of your comments, your questions. I can see quite a lot coming. Let's quickly take some on Facebook now, I think. Okay, this is coming in from Kayode Rufus. He's asking, or he's saying that the AXMI's loan The AXMIS, that is the acronym for the Agribusiness Small and Medium Enterprises Investment Scheme. That is what AXMIS means. It's a loan scheme from the Apex Bank also. So Kayode Rufus is saying the AXMIS loan has been paused for COVID-19 loan. It has created a lot of depression for us in that category. Been on the process since December and got interviewed in February. Been waiting for the offer letter since. I hope the CBN is listening. I don't think the AXMIS loan has been paused for COVID-19 loan because they are different. The COVID-19 loan, that's the targeted credit facility, the 50 billion naira, that's different from the AXMIS loan. So I don't know why that should be paused for the COVID-19 loan, but I guess that they are listening and they should be able to get back to you. But now that I am aware, I will definitely ask that question. All right, let's take another comment on Facebook. Can we have that very quickly? Okay, still on Facebook, Akijobi Olariwaju Yekini Jibril says, honestly, I must commend the federal government on their immense contributions towards the agricultural sector. Even if he had failed us woefully on other things, hope they won't be asking us to deposit 10K on this one again. There's no people for you that are. For those people that are asking or you want a loan for the targeted credit facility, TCF, for COVID-19, you are not supposed to pay any money. I'm also aware that some people are scamming a lot of Nigerians right now. Be careful. Don't divulge your BVN, your personal details to anybody. In case you get a text message or someone calls you and says, I'm from so-so-so bank, don't divulge your information. I beg and beg of you, don't give your information, quite sensitive. Let's take other comments very quickly. Do we have them? Okay. Iwuchukwu Obina says, can I get a loan without TIN? That's tax identification number. Tax identification number, not identification number. Obina from Ikorodu. What kind of loan are you asking for? If it is the TCF 50 billion, if you're asking for a household, you don't need a TIN number to access that loan. But if you are a corporate organization, you should have a number. All just behind the finance before the COVID-19 pandemic, where the federal government did say that for companies that have turnover of 25 million naira below would not pay corporate would not take my director is talking to me in my ear, so I lost my train of thought for a bit. Okay, what I was saying is that the federal government did say that for companies, that's for businesses that have turnover of about 25 million down, you're not supposed to pay company income tax. But if you want to get a loan for households from the Central Bank of Nigeria, I don't think you need a TIN. That's for households. Even for corporate, no, I think for corporate, because it's your corporate account you would use, not your personal account. Okay, Samuel Ago is saying, how can one get this loan? It depends on the loan you're talking about. Like I said earlier, the TCF is there, the 50 billion naira TCF for the households and corporates. You can go on the website, nmfb. I think COVID-19, that's the link, so that you can go and get those details there.